Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bryn, for those of you who don't know me. And today is going to be a little bit different than the content that I normally put up on here. If you read the title, yes, I'm going to be telling my story on how I woke up during anesthesia. And before I get into that, I just want to give like a little disclaimer. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not here to diagnose anyone. I'm not here to offer any sort of medical advice whatsoever. This is just my experience and I wanted to share it with you guys. So also, I'm not going to get too like graphic about anything. But I am going to be going over like a medical procedure. So if you feel like you can't handle watching this video, then I totally understand. Click off now. That's fine. So yeah, let's get started into my story time. This happened to me. I had a procedure about 2 months ago, and it was honestly so incredibly traumatic that I'm just now being able to share it and talk about it. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this with you guys because this stuff kind of is really personal for me. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on everything just because, it's personal and I really don't want to get into it. But I do want to share this. I think it might help somebody. When it happened, I know that I tried looking up on YouTube like people that had a similar situation to me, and I really couldn't find anything. So I just wanted to share my story with you guys. So here we go. So I'm not gonna get into all the medical details, but I do need to go back a little bit and just give like a brief history on my situation. So, for the past almost like 6 years now, I have been dealing with chronic stomach pain. It's in the same spot every time, and it's pretty much every day. There's only been like a handful of days that I can remember where I wasn't in pain. And it's like kind of like right below my belly button. It's always been in the same spot. And along with that, I've had like tons of bloating. Like, you guys, I look pregnant all the time. And there's some other symptoms, but I'm not going to go into those. But those were the main symptoms. And so about 5 years ago, or almost 6 years now, I was diagnosed with something. And that seemed to explain my symptoms. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then I recently went to the doctor like a year ago for something totally unrelated, and I brought it up and they were like, oh no, like that wouldn't be causing that pain. So I was like, okay. So then I started doing every single test you can imagine under the sun. I did blood work, I did breath tests, I did different kind of exams, everything. I did a bunch of like gynecological exams because the pain was lower, so they thought maybe it was that, but it wasn't. So then like 6 months ago, I started seeing a gastroenterologist specialist. So I saw her, I went over my symptoms, and she actually recommended that I get an endoscopy. So if you don't know what that is, basically they stick a tube down your throat with like a camera on the end, and it basically looks at all your upper GI tract and to see if there's anything wrong. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I want to get to the bottom of what's been going on. So a couple of days after that appointment, I was in extreme excruciating pain. Like I had to leave work. It was that bad. And so I went and saw my regular doctor, and he was like, oh, I'm confused on why your specialist didn't recommend you get a colonoscopy. And I was like, I don't know, she didn't even mention that. And he said, I really think you should be getting a colonoscopy because your pain is like lower. So what they ended up deciding to do is a endoscopy and colonoscopy at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but like one after the other during the same surgery type thing. So, and by the way, they scheduled me that for like a month and a half away. That was the earliest they could get me in, is a month and a half away, which is crazy. But so I'm living my life, and I have like extreme anxiety at this point, thinking that something is very, very wrong with me. You know, all of the huge diseases are going in my brain, and I'm thinking it's the worst, obviously, for this whole month and a half. So finally the time comes to do my procedure. And if you don't know what you have to do to prepare for a colonoscopy, you're lucky, because A, you've never had one, and B, it is literally like trauma in itself. Okay, so let me just explain the preparation for this that I had to go through. First, you have to drink a gallon of this medication, this liquid medicine. And the best way I can describe this medicine is it kind of tasted like slimy water. That's really the only thing that I could describe it as. So you have to drink half of the gallon the day before your procedure. And not only do you have to drink that, you have to chug a bunch of like water as you're doing it. So it's so much liquid. And you're not allowed to eat any food for 24 hours. 24 hours beforehand. So that was crazy. So you drink half of it, and then once you've drank it, the fun is not over, okay? Because now you're basically, the medication is to empty your bowels. So you're going to be on the toilet for hours. So you drink half of it, and then you're on the toilet the whole time. And then at 3 a.m., you have to wake back up and drink the whole rest of the gallon of medicine, and you're in the bathroom for the rest of the time. And then my appointment was at 8 a.m. So basically, and on top of that, you guys, like a week before that, I had the flu. And so I was already on the toilet for like a whole week before that. And so literally I was so weak. I had nothing in my system. Anyway, so I got through the preparation, and so we went to my appointment, and we checked in, and they gave me a wristband, and then I sat in the waiting room, and I only was in the waiting room for like 10 minutes before they called me back. And now the fun part begins, you guys. Okay, so when they called me to go back, I asked if my husband would be allowed to come with me, and they were like, well, why don't we get you set up first, and then we'll call him back. Because you're back there, they're supposed to give you an IV for like 30 minutes before you even go into your procedure. So they brought me back there by myself, and they had me change into a gown and like a bonnet thing and like booties. Like, it was kind of crazy. So I changed into that, and then next is they need to put an IV in you. So I already knew, I have really bad veins. Anytime I go get my blood drawn, like, they have the most difficult time finding a vein. I don't know why. but I knew it was going to be hard for them because I was completely dehydrated after going through everything. But I didn't know it was going to be this bad. So first, this one like young gentleman comes in, and he went to give me an IV in this arm right here. He did get the needle in, but he was like, it's really not secure. I don't feel confident, really. I'm going to call in a specialist. She's really good at getting a vein. And I was like, okay, great, you know. So they call her over, and she attempts to put it in like my hand vein right here. And she was being so rough. She was like slapping my hand and like shoving the needle everywhere. And she couldn't get it in the hand. And by the end of like the next day, my whole hand was completely bruised. It was crazy. I should have taken a photo, but I just don't think to do things like that. But so the hand didn't work. So then she went and did like a vein like in the middle of my arm right here. And I really don't think that she got it in all the way, or like properly, and you'll find out why later. But yeah, so finally they find a vein, and that just them putting the needle in my arm took an hour. That took an hour to try to get a vein. So finally they did. And by the way, my husband's still in the waiting room. They never brought him back, like not once, before my procedure. So my husband is still in the waiting room, and I'm by myself back there. So they finally get the vein, and they're giving me like an IV drip. And then I think I waited another like 45 minutes. And during that time, the doctor that was going to be performing my procedure came in and talked to me, and the anesthesiologist. And basically, he told me that I was going to be under general anesthesia, which means they put you all the way out. You're all the way asleep. It's not like sedation, I don't think, where they like paralyze you and like you have a breathing tube and all that stuff. That's what he said anyway. So he was kind of explaining, you know, everything that was going to happen during the surgery, as well as the doctor. So I was waiting there for another 45 minutes, and they told me this whole thing was going to take like 30 minutes before my procedure. So the whole time I'm stressing like that my husband is going to get worried that it's taking too long. That's what I was worried about the whole time. So yeah, so the anesthesiologist, before they wheeled me back, he came in and gave me Benadryl in my IV, and that was supposed to make me like tired, before they actually give you the drugs that knock you out. So he did that. I waited a few more minutes. Finally, they wheel me back in there, and I feel like I was the last person. Like, there was so many people back there getting like a colonoscopy. It was like at least 20 people back there in like all different separate rooms. Oh, I forgot a huge part of, okay, so as I'm waiting there, there's like a curtain in front of my bed. It's not a door, it's just a curtain. And I can hear the nurses talking outside of the curtain, like right there. And they're talking about how much they love to use mushrooms. Like, I kid you not, before I go into a procedure where they're going to knock me out, they're talking about mushrooms. But anyway, so they wheeled me into the room. And at this point, I'm ready to get it over with. And so they put you on this like table thing, and they're readjusting. You have to lay on your side. And so right now, my arm starts feeling really like hot, like where the IV is, like really warm, really hot. So I asked the anesthesiologist, I was like, oh, is it normal for my arm to feel really hot? And he goes, oh no, like it's not supposed to feel that way. And then I fell asleep. I think like the nurse lady was like, oh, it's probably just the Benadryl. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. And then they knocked me out. So, oh, and before I fell asleep, they put this like plastic tube in your mouth so that you don't like bite down on the tube that goes down your throat. So I had this plastic thing in my mouth. I'm laying there waiting to fall asleep. I finally do actually fall asleep. Everything's fine. I'm asleep. I'm not aware of anything. And then the next memory that I have is actually waking up and I still have the tube in my mouth. But honestly, like I wasn't panicked. I was fine. Like I think I felt them like pulling the camera out of my throat. But I was fine. Like I wasn't panicked. I wasn't worried. I was just like, oh, that's weird. But then I fell back asleep. And then the next memory I have is literally like, so the tube's gone. Like I don't have the plastic thing in my mouth anymore. But I woke up like screaming. Like I remember I woke up screaming and in excruciating pain, like where my stomach is. And I just remember saying, it hurts so bad, and just yelling, it hurts so bad. And as I'm doing this, the doctor is still going. Like she's still moving around in there. I'm in such bad pain. Like no one is stopping. Nobody is. And I still wonder, like to this day, like if I was actually screaming or if I thought I was, because I feel like if I was screaming, they would have like stopped or like done something. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what happened, but I swear I was screaming in pain. And it was like, it was so much pain that it woke me out of anesthesia. And then the next thing I know is I'm out again. So they put me back out. And then the next memory I have is waking up in like the little recovery room. And one of the nurses was like trying to wake me up. She was like, oh, you're awake, everything went great, blah, blah, blah. And the first thing out of my mouth is I woke up, I was miserable or it was terrifying or something. I don't remember what I said, but I definitely told that nurse that I woke up during the procedure. And she was like, oh yeah, you were fighting the anesthesia. Like, okay. Like she's trying to blame me for this whole thing. Like I was like, no, I don't want to be put out. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. And I feel like, and then the doctor came in to talk to me about like the results. And I think my husband was there at this point. He was like in a chair next to my bed. I don't know how long this whole thing was, like me waking up. I feel like it was like 30 minutes or something. But I definitely felt like they were trying to like rush me out the door. They were like, oh shoot, like get her out of here. But yeah, so the doctor was just going over the results. And by the time I knew it, they were like, you can get dressed and go home. So, and then the ride home, I honestly don't remember the ride home. It was so foggy. Like I was awake, but I don't even remember like getting home. And then I slept for like 6 hours or something. But yeah, so that was my experience. And I just want to say that even though I went through that whole like horrifying experience of waking up in extreme pain, I am so incredibly grateful that, first of all, I did receive a diagnosis. I actually have 2 things wrong with me. One thing is definitely treatable. I'm working on treating it. I'm working with like my insurance so I can be able to. And then another thing, like I have to live with for the rest of my life, but it's not serious. I don't really want to get into everything, like what they diagnosed me with, but I am just so, like, honestly, I'm truly grateful that I've finally, after all these years, found out what's wrong with me and it's treatable. And I'm just so incredibly blessed that, honestly, like, me waking up during that procedure, yeah, it was traumatic, but I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad that, my health is going to be better now. And also, I want to say, you guys, I hope this video didn't scare you guys into not getting your health checked. Like, that is so important. I'm a huge advocate of taking care of your body and making sure that everything's fine, because if you don't have your health, you really don't have anything. So definitely this what I experienced was very rare. And I did look it up, actually, and it's, I guess, 200,000 people a year wake up during surgery, which is honestly pretty crazy. That sounds like a lot. But I think it's only like 1 or 2% of people experience what I experienced. And a lot of people, a lot of people have something called anesthesia awareness, which is when they don't fully go to sleep, but they're like paralyzed and they can't move. That's not what happened to me. What happened is I literally woke up during the procedure and then they put me back out. That would be even more terrifying. And thank gosh I didn't, thank God I didn't have to have like actual surgery where they like cut you open, because being awake during that would be awful. But yeah, I don't want to deter you guys from getting your health checked. Like, it's so, so important if you can afford it, obviously, to get these things done. It is very rare that you wake up, but you know what? I'm always, anytime anything happens that it's like, oh, that will never happen to you, it's so rare, it always happens to me. It does, like, without a doubt. So, but I'm just so grateful to be here and to be, my health is in recovery now and we're getting things taken care of. So I'm so, so blessed. And I'm truly blessed to, I just want to say, like, a huge shout out to my husband. For, without him, I don't know if I would have gotten through the last 5 years, honestly. Like, he's taking care of me the whole time. And also, I want to give a huge shout out to you guys. Like, if you're struggling with your health or with anything, just know that there will be a time where you will get through it eventually. Because after 5 years, I was like, oh my God, like, is it ever going to end? But I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm so, so happy for that. So that was my experience. Really crazy. I honestly never thought it would happen to me, but here we are. And next time, like, I don't know if there's going to be a next time, honestly, because it was, I don't know. But yeah, I got through it and I'm a stronger person. So just wanted to share this with you guys. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer it. And thanks for stopping by. Love you guys.